welcome to the Death of a Dream podcast. I'm your host, Hanna Nuss. It is a lovely day today. And I'm not talking about the weather. It's just lovely. It really is. So, today we're going to go ahead and practice our greatness, period. And mostly with greatness, I want us to continue remembering how important it is. I say it every day, and I say it every day because of how life-changing it is. If it wasn't, I would maybe hit on it weekly. I would maybe just do a bonus episode on it, but it's that vital. It's such a vital step, and today we're going to talk about another vital step in you chasing your dreams, in you recovering from the death of your own dream. And, there are so many vital pieces and so many things that are going to serve you and misserve you and mistakes that you're going to make. But more than anything, being confident in this one thing in yourself is not going to take you down any path that isn't worth going. So let's love ourselves. Let's love the possibility of who we are and who we could be if we just believed in ourselves. Okay, so my great thing from yesterday, obviously, if you've listened to any of the podcasts, you know that I've been on a food freedom journey, but really just a journey to self-love. Even when we don't break it down specifically to food, I think that idea of giving up the control, giving up this self-loathing behavior that was just taking me to a bad place. And so, yes, specific to food, yesterday was Thanksgiving. Generally, I don't date this podcast, but here we are. It's a timestamp. Yesterday was Thanksgiving, and eating yesterday, whereas I would have moved into this scarcity model, and this is true of all things that I struggle with control over. Whereas I would have normally moved into the scarcity model where it's whoa, I don't get this mac and cheese very often. Whoa, I don't give myself this. Yesterday, I never felt that. And so I ate so much less. Could have also been that I cooked the food and I'm not as glorious as the people who normally cook my food. So I guess next year we'll have to test this. But I didn't feel that because I wasn't having those conversations. Whereas last year at Thanksgiving, it would have been you really shouldn't have more of that. And then you know what happens when you tell yourself you shouldn't do something. You want to do it more. You get seconds and thirds and fourths and you feel guilty the whole time. And I just kind of have been really working to remove those thoughts, those pressures, those ideas that anything that my mind and body tell me are bad and trying to misdirect me, just eat. Just eat. And so yesterday I just ate and it was glorious and it was so nice to not have those things. And I will say, whereas I used to clean my entire plate, almost lick the plate dry. If that's possible. It probably isn't. But I used to clean my entire plate every time, no matter what the meal. And I would say now it's pretty rare that I would have my whole plate gone. Now I have stuff left on there because it's not this constant battle within myself. It's more of a question of are we full now? Did that fill us? And that's such an opposite conversation from what I used to say to myself. So I don't know, some sort of semblance of food freedom and really just eating in a manner that serves me was so beautiful and so freeing yesterday. And it's not even about what happens when you do that. It really is just what happens when you just love yourself and you just trust yourself and you just believe that your body is going to take itself where it needs to go and where it's supposed to go. Our bodies are just kind of made up what they're made up. if you want to check on what your body should or would or could look like go back to your genetics. Like, what are the body types in your family line? What does that look like for you? And like, there's just truth there, right? And so yesterday it really felt amazing. And yeah, I don't know. Anyways, here we all are. That's my great thing. Go ahead and take time to recognize yourself for your great thing. If you just like let yourself eat pecan pie and not worry about it, like, amen. Awesome, right? If you yesterday I was just like, oh my gosh, this apple crisp, yum. And then I just ate the apple crisp. What? Right? And I was still hungry, or at least still craving it. And so it just happened. So recognize yourself. I don't even care what it was. If it was just like kind of a part of me wants to recognize myself for cooking an entire day of Thanksgiving meals. We had a special breakfast, we had a special lunch, we had a special dinner that took a lot longer than I would ever prepare myself for. And it was just cool. Okay. I have like a lot of great things from yesterday. Wow. What a great day. Okay. So today talk about it, do it, whatever you need to do. Today we're talking about patience and how important patience is in you chasing your dream. Now, duh, right? You're probably going, yeah, okay, Hannah, we know. But I was talking with a friend this week, and we were talking about, like, what does it take to go chase a dream? And I think a lot of times people are waiting, right, for the perfect moment. And I've said this before, there are no perfect moments. So eventually, if it's really something that you want to do, you just have to jump and trust and know that you're not going to give in, right? And so for me, that really looked like jumping when I didn't know. And now the conversation is like, what's the timeline of going back? What's the timeline of success? What's the timeline of, do you keep trying? And, the conversation between myself and my spouse, because obviously we're a combined unit making our family happen, the conversation really sounds like we're going to make this work, or we're going to figure this out no matter what it takes. And so let's just keep pushing. Let's just keep finding what's going to work and keep putting it out there. And so the biggest thing is, I would say, that patience piece, because you never really know. You don't know. It could be in the next person that you have coffee with. It could happen, 10 years from now. Your message, whatever it is you're trying to do, just may not connect because it's not meant to, right? And so here I am sitting, trusting that whatever is supposed to happen is going to. Whatever is meant for me will find me. Now, that doesn't just happen if I'm just sitting here like, please find me. I want to do this thing. Like, let's put a little bit of effort into working towards that space so that people see that you're visibly there and working on something. And so that you find some semblance of what that's going to look like, and if you even like it. So I think a lot of people avoid the patience thing, and they just go in because, in a lot of the instances of my life, from what I've seen, right, it's going to make us rich. So let's do that. Let's do the thing. Let's sign up for that. And while that's amazing, a lot of times that doesn't shake out. And usually it doesn't shake out because the rich people, the people who got rich, really just stayed with it over time. It didn't necessarily happen overnight. And so, I heard at a conference like a majority of people stop, if you can outlast the people who stop, you'll be one of the few standing. And that's how people do this, right? That's how people reach their dreams. It's all about outlasting the ones who will give in first. Can you outlast them? And I knew when I went into this, like, that's a part of something that has always served me. It's like, fine. I am probably never, ever going to be the most talented person in the room. I am probably never going to be the prettiest person in the room. I don't know. I stand out if the room's average height is lower. But other than those things, I'm kind of just a normal person. And so one of the things that's always served me when I started working on any of my dreams was just this inability to give in and not work harder than most people in the room. That served me really well in chasing my dream of becoming a Division I athlete. Now, that didn't happen, right? So you're probably going, oh, well, Hannah, but it didn't happen because it wasn't meant to, right? If that had happened, we wouldn't be here right now. And maybe this is what I was called to do. You never really know. And as you continue to turn up stones, as you continue to just trust and walk on that path, no matter how slow or fast you're doing it, the main thing is that you do it consistently and you continue walking forward. And you can take whatever pace you want. I know there are days where I'm sprinting. There are weeks where I'm sprinting as fast as I can. And then there are days and weeks where it's like, oh, we gotta pull back. Girl, slow down, right? And that's okay, because the key really is patience over time in chasing whatever it is that you're chasing. Really, the main key is just not giving up. Planting your stake in the ground and going. Period. And are you willing to do that for yourself? Are you willing to jump even though you know that there may not be a net there? Things may get uncomfortable. You may have to have uncomfortable conversations. You may, more than anything, have to shift your lifestyle. My buildup of moving to this place, meant that I had to curb a lot of the things that I enjoyed. And a lot of the behaviors that really probably weren't serving me or my family very well, but just things that I was probably addicted to, like trust. Watching the Black Friday sales right now is giving me true FOMO, even though they're just online. Like, it scares me. I'm going to miss out on a deal. There aren't even things that are deals on things that I need or want. But like, I'm scared. I don't want to miss out. Like, what if someone gets something for $4 less than I might get it in 2 weeks? Like, I'm scared, people. And seriously though, I really am. But like, that behavior doesn't serve me wanting to work in this space very well. And so at the entrance of this space, it really was this idea and understanding that this may take time. We aren't going to probably build something that starts generating the amount of revenue that we were living in our lifestyle before, but we can change our lifestyle. Now, while we don't want to stay on this train forever, part of learning how to provide again is sometimes it takes that starvation, like, I don't know that I would have tried and had the conversations that I have now sitting comfortably behind the salary that I used to make. Right? At some point, you have to just dive into the discomfort. There's no guarantee. There's no, that's the scariest part of entrepreneurship. It's like it could all be here and it could all be gone. But I have to be completely honest with you, that's no different from any job that you have. Here you can at least watch the trends and you can decide when it's time to get off versus someone just deciding and blindly pushing you off, right? So how do we get patient? How? I think for me, it really is just continually grounding myself in this idea that like I have these very specific dreams for my life, and those are completely different from anything I was doing before. And so you're essentially completely restructuring, rebuilding, and starting from scratch. So that means, yes, did I make some amazing contacts? And some of the contacts who I did make are really serving me very well entering this new space, because I wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to be a crappy person. Now, I definitely have gone on a very long journey of self-discovery, and I am a very different person from who I was before. But a lot of the core things that serve me now, that served me then, are still in the makeup of who I am. And so those people who know that about me have come back. They're like, hey, what are you doing? How can I work with you? How do we do this together? How do I support you? And so that's been such a huge blessing. But that doesn't happen unless you are patient. Like, we started on this specific journey, the podcast journey, the understanding of what my dreams are, and like literally we started on day one. This podcast started on day one of that journey. Like, let's just document it. What does it even take to have dreams again? What does it even take to start moving in the direction of the life that you want to live? If you're just up and changing it completely, what does it take? How do we do that? What do I encounter on this direction? What if we completely change where we even thought we would end up? Like, what happens to a person? How do we do that? And now it's taking shape into this much, much bigger thing. I honestly found that I was so much more interested in this topic of dreaming, right? Living your dream life. Why do people get to do that? And why do some people not? Like, I don't know. Is it just what are the specific things? And trust that there's going to be a lot more research on those specific topics. And I'm going to start collecting those. I'm working on that survey this weekend. So if I ask you to do that over the next coming weeks, please, please, please do that. I want to start collecting it, and it will be anonymous, but I want to see if there are specific things that happen to us when our dreams die. And what are those, and what causes people to wake up again, right? Like, what brought you to this path? What brought you to this podcast? What brought you to want to dream again? Like, why do you want to decide your life? Why now? And maybe it's just in calling that out. I know for me, it was like, say it. And finally saying those words to myself really triggered this movement, because it was like, Hanna, the moment that your dream life as you envisioned it didn't work out, you gave up and you started settling. And while you created a beautiful life, you also created a life that isn't really serving you all that well, and your gifts and the things that you know to be true about you. Do you want to continue down this path, or do you want to direct your path? And that conversation is a hard one to have with yourself, but a super important one, because having that level of accountability with yourself really takes you over the hump. one of the biggest humps. Acknowledging that you had a part in it, right? Because for me, it was like I had forever just been blaming, either my coaches or my connections or, the fact that nobody just gave me a shot, all these things. And it just wasn't true, right? Like it just wasn't meant to play out, period. Done. Throw it away. Lock it up, throw away the key. Those things were not meant to serve you. Goodbye, right? But I was consciously claiming to that narrative of like, well, that was it. That was supposed to be it. That didn't work out for X, Y, and Z. And so I didn't get to live out my dream life. Boo-hoo. I guess I'm one of those unlucky people who got dealt the undream life cards. Dang it. Right? And that moment, that like given checkout moment was huge for me. And I realized that this had happened more than once in my life and completely rearranged where I decided it was acceptable for me to go, but it was always related to a dream dying, right? When you think about what happens when you lose a parent, or what happens when you become a parent, or like there are these bigger impact moments and these kind of deciding times. And I think becoming a parent is a huge thing because it's a deciding time of like, can I continue to take this risk, or do I need to provide and take care of these people, right? Yeah, right? That's your job now. You serve this human forever. And those are the moments that I want to start exploring. But honestly, the biggest thing that got me to this place, because these weren't ideas that I had 2 years ago when we started this, right? These are ideas that I've had that continue to hatch and grow and mold and come as a result of continuing to move down this path. And we're not always sprinting, but like, I continue to just find pockets of people who do need this, who do believe in the same thing. And so even though, that may not be millions today 5 is better than 0. Today 1, whoever you are that's listening to this right now, you're hearing this is somehow serving you. If you're still here at 23 minutes, like, you're the most important piece in this given moment. And today, if I'm talking to you about patience and the importance of patience in your dreams, today, if we're doing that work, you needed that. You need this in some sense. You need this moment to continue guiding you and to continue pushing you to chase whatever it is that you want in your life. And so I love how things find us. I love how my messages find people in the exact moment that they need it, in the exact moment that is going to serve them. And I will tell you, there is no easy path with chasing your dreams. I wish that there was. I wish that there was like this button where you're like, okay, I need financial security and this to beautifully play and work out in my favor. I need it. I really do. And while that's true, sometimes it just takes patience and guidance and truth and movement in the direction that you want to take. And here, sorry, I just had to send a couple of early risers out of my room here. Your dreams are going to require one thing more than anything, and that's patience. If you keep stepping, if you keep just believing that whatever is meant to find you will find you while continuing to move, right? Like, I don't stop moving. In fact, we have taken locomotive pace as of late. Well, aside from the month we had to take off for COVID, but other than that, we've taken a really fast pace because things are really starting to roll and make sense. And I think that's so beautiful. We're 2 years in, but had we stopped at half a year, had we stopped at 6 months, right? Had we stopped at a year, what would have happened? Today's episode is the 350th episode of this podcast. That's a really big deal. That's a really big number. More than anything, that's patience, right? That's inability to give in and stop moving. We owe ourselves patience when we're working on our dreams. A lot of us aren't coming from a place where we're 7 steps in. We're coming from a place where we're completely starting from scratch, right? Where we are starting over. So if you think that you get out of this with a get out of jail free card, I don't have to be patient, it'll probably happen overnight. And while for some people it absolutely will, because you don't know the timing. Some of you have already struggled enough. Some of you deserve all of that. Some of you, it's going to happen because it's already in alignment. Some of you, it's going to happen because really all you needed to do was believe and you were already pretty much there. And so that's beautiful. But for some of you, including me, it's going to take time and consistency. And if you're not willing to give in, no matter what happens, no matter if the numbers go up or they go down or the emails are all no's or they're all yeses, if you're willing to just continue out of pure love for what it is that you want to do, and you're setting yourself up in a way that you're not exhausting yourself, right? In a way that your passion kind of carries you past that exhaustion, but also in a way that you're not doing things that are outside of what you can do or what you want to do. Don't just sign up and do things because other people are doing it and that's what you're supposed to do. Really use yourself and your own abilities as a guiding light. Because if you are annoyed or hate doing it, probably isn't something that you're going to continue consistently. For me, I started out we're gonna write every day. Let's just be consistent. Let's do it. And writing didn't flow. And so we moved into the podcast realm because speaking always flowed. Still does. I'm just saying. And so, but that, allowing myself to work in what worked for me really took me into this next process where writing became very possible and where it started to make sense. Even though it was something that I wanted to do, it just wasn't something that I was able to be very consistent or patient with. It kind of exhausted and scared me, right? There's a lot of imposter syndrome that goes into writing for me and probably a lot of other people. So more than anything, the patience and self-love, but patience, right? It's not supposed to happen overnight. And if it does, that might almost be a harder path, right? And so I want you to just practice so much patience and so much self-love, because starting over is no joke, good people. Restarting an entire life, an entire set of beliefs about yourself, that's what it's going to take. But if you give in too early because you believe that it's not happening fast enough, you didn't get rich fast enough, you didn't get, you're not going to outlast the other people who aren't willing to give in. It's about consistency, but more than anything, it's about patience. Patiently loving yourself to the life that you want to live. It takes time. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world.